Users who read the terms and conditions. What are some of the worst things we've agreed to without paying attention? I had a contract that says that if the employee of the ISP does something maliciously and intentionally, they cannot be held liable. We were being forced to use this ISP as the only option, and this is the contract given to us. This was a standard boilerplate contract from them. Hotwire, you suck. I had Hotwire in student housing. They sucked balls. I financed some furniture when I was young and getting established in my first professional job. It was interest-free financing for the first 12 months. The catch was that if you paid late, they would charge you a fee, back interest from the beginning of the loan period, and you would lose the interest-free status for the rest of the loan. The APR was 29.9%, compounded monthly. I couldn't imagine getting to the 11th payment and having something go wrong. Then pay basically double what I had financed on the furniture. I paid it off in 6 months. And I never did in-store financing again. Back when the internet really started being a thing, some company website put something in their terms and conditions about the first person who reads it can contact them to claim a $100 prize. Took 5 years for somebody to claim the prize. I almost signed a contract that granted 50% of profits to the previous owner of the business for 3 years. It was a restaurant that used a conventional microwave instead of an actual oven. Heck, this was back in the early 2000s, and this place had a wonderful 50s vibe. From the bar, to the stalls to booths, but it was empty because the food was so bad and there was fast food up the road. We were going to get a pizza oven in there and turn it into a pizza shake place with soup in the winter. When the law student we paid $500 to look over everything do this, asked the seller about it for us. They said that they had sunk so much money into the business, the only way to make the money back was to get it from the next owner somehow. Good luck with that. I recall a major airline in the pioneer days won an award for most ridiculous tools to simply look up a flight arrival time on their website. If I recall, it was a 22,000 word document that an analysis said was written at a postgraduate reading level. It states that you would, in perpetuity, never use that computer to connect to any other airline's website. Illegal terms in a legal contract are not legally binding. Had a rental agreement for a house where the landlord said they could walk in at any time for any reason, with or without notice. Pretty sure that's illegal even if they do get it in writing. Contracts are not carte blanche to do whatever you want so long as you can sucker someone into agreeing to them. A realtor once gave me a contract that said she would be the only person to represent the property for 18 months. Nope. Found a different realtor with a 3-month term. Told the first one that her terms were ridiculous and was under contract within 10 days. To be able to link my phone's Outlook reader to my university account, I would had to give it department permission to wipe my phone clean if needed. No thanks, I'll just use browser instead. I saw an employment contract where, if you did any company business on your cell phone, they could go through your phone and restrict basically whatever they wanted. I advised my friend to make a company provided phone part of her contract. Canadian Idol auditions when the first show was announced. Read the contract to the very end after signing it. You agree to being filmed 24/7. We can enter your room at any time and record personal phone calls and interactions with anyone. That received a hard no for me. Ripped up the contract and never looked back. Thank God I read that before submitting it. Free ceiling insulation. Didn't even sound dodgy at the time because we had a free insulation installation scheme running, which was cancelled due to deaths of installers, but that isn't part of this story. The catch? You allowed a company to install temperature sensors around the inside of your house, and they can at any time, and you have to allow access for them to check the sensors and get readings, adjust things, and remove the sensors. Everything belongs to the company. This means letting randos into your house potentially over and over to get their readings from the electrical crap they put in your house. Now I'm good. Keep your insulation. I want to know more about deaths of installers. Any health and safety terms and conditions in USA. I was working on adapting a US one for a charity event in the UK run by the same people, and oh boy, you cannot get away with that here. One line said if an employee harmed you in any way, even intentionally, you could not sue. I'm pretty sure I gave Google the rights to all of my Spotify data when they gave me a free Google Home. On one hand, RIP privacy. On the other hand, knowing some poor algorithm has to figure out some possible way to advertise things to me based on listening to Knock on Wood 57 times in a row and the soundtrack to Starship Troopers on repeat gives me great joy. Yeah, I did the same thing. It's the shower music for all 6 people in my house now, so Google thinks I am some sort of crazy person. Listening to Blippi, The Beatles, Machine Head, Tool, and Kid Cudi every day. Was going to post this as a response on another thread, but I want people to actually see it. When you book a flight, in the terms and conditions, especially for basic and econo fares, you agree that in the event of your flight getting cancelled due to an act outside of the airline's control, they don't have to refund you unless they offer you a travel credit. That includes a world-spanning virus. Don't be cheap. Get traveler's insurance or pay for the higher fare that has a refund clause. Everything you post, pictures, videos, GIFs, even this comment you are reading right now, is full property of the company you posted on. If Reddit wants to, they can take my comment, rent a billboard, and post it for everyone to see. They can sell whatever information is on my account. After all, when it's free, you are not the consumer, you are the product. Learned this the hard way in 2015. When Facebook did a whole 10-year anniversary ad. It was a mosaic of people's profile pics and mine was included. I asked them why mine was up there. I don't remember telling them they could put me in a Facebook ad. Yes, I did. When I agreed to terms and conditions, it also gave them full permission to do whatever they wanted with all my pictures. I quit Facebook not long after, and any social networks I am on. I avoid putting my own self in any pictures I add because of this same issue everywhere. This is incorrect. It's not their property. You retain the copyright. However, you give them a license. The license is revocable. However, revoking it will, generally, cost you the account. Microsoft Windows. You agree to let Microsoft download basically everything on your computer and then even make insinuations about you through your data such as sexual orientation, religion, and even what sports teams you support. That's the example they actually use in their terms and conditions, in order to market to you more effectively. Unless I'm reading that wrong and all those late night we thought you were sleeping telemetry data transfers to Seattle are just some kind of bug. You need to actively mark which folders they won't look at through a drawn out process that most people just can't be bothered with or even knew about. You need to agree to this to install Windows. It's insane. Google does it too. But because of my job at Walmart and me not realizing I should have made a separate account for it, Google thinks my data is the average of countless people. America's Got Talent. Once you sign the contract, they own you, your act, your social media accounts, and everything you've ever done. If you have a YouTube channel of your talent, they have the right to review the videos, take them down, or tell you not to make more. Any post on any social media has to be approved. They hold the right to give you a new background. Suddenly you're an orphan who is a cancer survivor and volunteers at an animal shelter, because it's better for the audience. They can film you anywhere, anytime, for any reason, and play it in whatever context they want. If you win, you'll be presented with an offer that you have to take, no matter if it doesn't benefit you, and you'll be released far after you've stopped being relevant. In this time you are not allowed to take any other contracts. You can be disqualified from the competition for any reason, at any time, and they get the power to publicly humiliate you, just because. America's Got Talent. If you win, you'll be presented with an offer that you have to take, no matter if it doesn't benefit you, and you'll be released far after you've stopped being relevant. Which is why the person who comes in second place is usually more successful. They can pick a contract that benefits them. I worked for a meat pie company that moved over from Australia that made me sign a contract that I would never work for another meat pie company or open an establishment that sells similar food. I didn't read the fine print. They also sold a few other things like crepes. Sure enough, I wanted to open a food truck and my partner had her sights on crepes as she made them in her previous food truck, and it just happened a truck we were buying was set up to make similar things. I gave 1 month notice because they were busy and I didn't was to leave them stranded in high season. I told the owner we were working on a food truck we bought. It was a dream coming true, and that it happens we are doing crepes as my partner is French and had done them before. Even though he barely sold any crepes, He was super P. The owner was a dong. Reminded me of the contract and made me feel like he would sue me if I did this. I ended up tape recording him yelling at an employee like he does every morning. He would yell at the stoner, maybe slightly special needs dishwasher for little things. My last paycheck was in the mail for several weeks until I went in one day and said I wouldn't leave without it. All of a sudden he cut the check when I showed the video. We didn't end up doing crepes anyways. Looking back, I probably lost my desire and momentum with the negativity. But yeah, frick that for minutes wage giving up your ability to do a thing of your own. Suckers. I sort of wished I let the video public as he was all about face and looking good. But I felt for his kids and wife. They do make good meat pies, those Australians. My favorite was the Tex-Mex one. Kind of like a loaded plate of nachos with this crispy pie crust. Super yum. One thing is, two different workers there got carpal tunnel syndrome as basically all day you scooped pie and sides with an ice cream type scoop. If you ever see a job where you have to scoop all day every day, it is going to freak your wrist up. For minutes wage giving up your ability to do a thing of your own. No guarantee of enough hours to stay employed, but I own you. Some contracts, the person pushing them deserves to be slapped hard, immediately, repeatedly, by each and every person they present the contract to. It's probably not the worst thing, but I feel it's among the slimiest. Clauses about not owning media you pay for. It was even worse back in the day when you paid for a physical copy and you didn't even have to click I agree on some user agreement that rivals War and Peace in word count. They just slapped it on the back of the case in super small print and then prosecuted people whenever they wanted because apparently lettering on a dual case is legally binding. Arbitration agreements. Almost every terms and conditions you sign has a bit that states if the company fricks up, does something evil, etc. They reserve the right to have their own people determine if they're at fault and you can't take it to court. This has, on occasion, come back to bite the company which put it in the contract. They are forced to pay for hundreds of identical arbitration cases. Even if they win them all, it becomes a non-trivial expense. There is an app you can download that will block auto-dialed calls, which may sound like a good thing. However, you have the option to pick up the call, and when you do they can record the entire phone conversation and keep it for themselves. This includes recording calls like debt collection agencies, or the hospital, which may have protected information. You agree to release all of that information to the app. Honestly, if it will keep me from getting another car warranty phone call, they can have my firstborn. I am so tired of those calls. I feel like I am going to scream every time I get one. Like if something could cause me to murder, it would be those freaking car warranty calls. While doing the paperwork for my job at a pizza place, it said you were not permitted to shape dough in shape of any form of genitalia. I don't think many people caught it, but it's not bad, just funny. But if you look at certain type of genitalia from certain angles, it would look like a circle. If you enter the sweepstakes run by a certain flooring company, the official rules basically say they can come in and install any floor they want if they so choose anywhere in your home, and you have to pay for it. I opted out of that one. Every car I've rented has included a clause saying they will not give me a car if acts of God intervene. Yes, I'm serious. And I've rented cars in 3 countries. I was a journalist on my college newspaper and won a few awards for journalism. I was a pretty talented writer back in my day and I had aspirations to maybe do it professionally. I took a creative writing course to cover an English credit and was offered a chance to have my work published in the school's short story periodical. The only catch, anything submitted was the sole property of the school and they had copyright on everything they print in the magazine. As a young aspiring writer, I've seen a lot of this sort of thing in my time. So much that I began to think that the writing industry was filled with more scammers than the music industry, which sadly, I also experienced as the singer of a local punk band that was gaining a bit of a regional following around the same time. A lot of colleges and universities have the rule that anything you publish as a student is their property. Heck, a lot of employers have a clause in your employment contract that they have intellectual rights to anything you create, work related or not, on or off the clock. I suppose this applies more to my mom than me, but I was certainly affected by it. Years ago, I had to get extensive work done on my teeth. Not just braces, expander, mouth guard and chains inserted into my gums. We picked a place that supposedly had orthodontists with high degrees, top of the line equipment and emergency care in case something was wrong. It seemed like a safe place and the contract made sense. No suing in case something went crazy wrong. Procedure guidelines. No seeing another orthodontist while seeing them. Yeah. But while those doctors had all those nice diplomas and medical supplies, there was one thing they lacked. Empathy. Braces suck, but have you ever had chains inserted into your gums and then yanked every 2-3 weeks to pull down teeth? No amount of aspirin could dull the pain and I could barely eat for days after that. And those orthodontists? Not gentle. In fact, their attitude was cold and standoffish, as if it was just get this over with. They didn't even seem to care that I cried or felt awful after every visit. If I asked for advice, they seemed annoyed and just said to take an aspirin and drink cold drinks till the pain went away. The first time I bawled in the car after the adjustment, my mom stormed into the office and demanded to talk to the orthodontist who worked on me. She was also not impressed by their attitudes. Mom was going to pull me out of their care and find someone else, but then there was the contract. Contract stated that she could not quit their services until the work on my teeth was done or there was a medical emergency signed off by doctors. While medical insurance helped with the procedure, they couldn't help with the financial penalty of quitting the contract. And I was forbidden from seeing another orthodontist except for teeth cleaning. In other words, I was stuck with these guys for the 3 years it took to fix my teeth. 3 years of intense pain and being treated like a burden instead of a human being. And even after the braces came off, they tried pressuring me to sign another contract for an experimental surgery that would put shock absorbers in my jaws. Thank goodness mom decided to check on me. I wish I could have nicer orthodontists working on my teeth. People who actually cared about their patients and helped them feel comfortable during the procedure. Even if there was nothing I could do to relieve the pain, I'd be fine if I was given tricks to deal with it or have people understand that I was hurt. But bright side, when my brother needed braces and expander, we found a new clinic that had nice orthodontists. Also, their contract didn't penalize us if we wanted to back out. Never had to. Bro's experience was pleasant. I had braces for 3 years, a Herbst appliance, and then later had rubber bands after the appliance was removed. And let me tell you, those were quite an unpleasant set of years. But even that doesn't seem to come close to what you had to endure. Very sorry to hear about that. A contract I was offered stipulated that the corporation would own the rights to any and all artwork which I created from now and in perpetuity throughout the known universe. While they may have meant just work created under their roof between 9 and 5, it read as anything, even at home or on weekends that I created could be theirs. And the whole throughout the known universe thing was particularly egregious. Needless to say I didn't sign. That's absolutely awful. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure if Apple still has it in their agreement, but back when I had an iPad Nano, 2009 to 2010, there was this small part that said by agreeing to the terms, I wouldn't make nuclear weapons with music bought from the store. Honestly, I still have no clue why that was included in the terms, but thank God, right? Last thing I wanna do is accidentally build a nuclear missile to Katy Perry's firework. To be fair, it also prevents you from operating a nuclear reactor with iTunes, nor to operate an air traffic control system, or an aircraft weapon system. I just want to know the mad lad that did all this with iTunes. Literally everything about Airbnb. Let me sum it up to you. You are paying for a service. If that service is not rendered in part or in whole, LOL, frick you, goodbye B. Not really what you're asking, but the best I've seen. I was reading an article about a guy that got like $5,000 from his travel agency. He was reading a brochure from the agency and in the fine print it said something along the lines of sign and return for your reward or something of the sorts. I forgot the amount, but I want to say he received X amount and they also donated the same amount to a charity. As a kid I got really scared going on field trips after realizing that the permission forms had in case of death clauses. Please let this be a normal field trip. Company covered life insurance plan. Stated clearly that it would not pay out benefits to your family if you committed suicide during the first 2 years of coverage. Unless You live in North Dakota, in which case they'll pay out for suicide after 1 year. I've never seen a state so ruthlessly declared a terrible place to live and legally binding paperwork. You know how it is. You scroll to the bottom and click the little check mark. What the site doesn't tell you is that a year later, to the day, there would be a knock on your door. The man standing there was nondescript, if not a touch outdated. His suit was the sort of tweed you see out in the wild and think the person must be wearing it ironically. He tipped his hat. Afternoon. Who tips their hat these days? It's a cliche, right? Terms and conditions officer, he said matter-of-factly. Recognizing the stunned silence, he continues on before a word is spoken. By the statutes of Section A, Form B, Terms and Conditions subparagraph 3.5 through 3.9. I have come to reclaim what was contractual promised by you, henceforth referred to as the signee. I have, by way of visual assessment, recognized you as the associated photo attached to your account and will now assume your position as agreed upon. There hasn't even been recognition of what site they're even talking about, but are they your height now? They were most certainly not your height when they walked up. What are? You were going to ask what the heck they're talking about, but again, now with insistence, continues on. Renegotiations to terms should have been submitted via fax to the field office on or before the previous 15th of the month. His eye color matches yours. He removes his hat to reveal your face. Your next thought to slam the door in his face is stopped by his arm. Longer, thinner, stretched gummy flesh wrapping around your hand and wrist. His features are your features. His smile that he gives you with a smile wider than your mouth could ever form as his arm continues wrapping, squeezing, and pulling you towards him. He looks like you now, except for the teeth. The teeth, which you see very closely, very briefly, are much, much sharper than yours. Suddenly Night Vale, and I'm here for it. Paraphrasing a bit, but something like, while we strive to make sure our software is free of viruses or other harmful components, we cannot guarantee that. So if our crap freaks up your computer, you're on your own. Not the most overtly evil, but very troubling if you think about it, and unfortunately common. They reserve the right to change the terms of the contract, and it's your responsibility to check if they have. Steam and similar services are not obligated to reimburse you if they end their services or if something happens to your game's data. But that makes sense honestly, because you don't officially own the games you purchased. If someday Steam goes down because nobody uses it anymore, they would have to reimburse every single penny of every single game to every single person that ever bought something from them if it wasn't for those clauses. Google account terms and conditions. You must give them the permission to send, edit or delete emails, view, edit and delete your contacts and so on. I don't remember the rest. If I understand correctly, you're referencing when you connect another email service like Hotmail or Outlook to your Gmail account. Gmail needs those permissions so that you can edit, view, delete emails from different providers on the Gmail account. If you didn't give them those permissions, you wouldn't be able to do that on the Gmail account. There was a new fun park in the area, the type with trampolines, obstacle courses, modern gladiator type games and pits full of chunks of foam. Some of my friends and I were keen to arrange a group outing, but by booking a ticket the fine print included you signing away permission for the company to be able to use any photos or videos they took, in any way they wanted, for advertising, marketing etc. in perpetuity. This is specifically to get around some fairly strict privacy laws. We went and spoke to a manager about it and he said tough luck. Either we give permission or we don't get to participate. The venue had numerous video cameras positioned to take footage of all the areas. Our social group is for autistic adults, teens, kids and families, and we had no wish to have our privacy invaded in this way. I always wondered if other people even read those terms and conditions. Because people are so picky about having photos taken of their kids, yet there they were just handing over all rights. Sony can send the police to your house and sue you for up to around about $100 if you don't update the PS5 system software. What? A company I used to work for If a company with over 500 employees used the free version of the software creator was entitled to a percentage of the profits based on number of computers it was installed on. Somehow the software creator found out this Fortune 50 company was using his software and tried suing. I'm not sure of the outcome, but the company took it very seriously to block any freeware from being used again. Decided to read the terms and conditions for one of those free swag booths at a tech convention. Something along the lines of we can use your name, photos, email, relationship with your company, and likeness in perpetuity without exception. I opted out of the free t-shirt. See, this is one of the few instances being ugly works. I get a free t-shirt and I know they won't use my likeness. If you use Discord, then you agree to not discuss or mention macro softwares or auto hotkey software on the platform. I literally have used one of these programs for work, so I guess I can't mention it on Discord. Check out Addendum 42.10 of Amazon's facial recognition software, which states, however, this restriction will not apply in the event of the occurrence, certified by the United States Centers for Disease Control or successor body, of a widespread viral infection transmitted via bites or contact with bodily fluids that causes human corpses to reanimate and seek to consume living human flesh, blood, brain or nerve tissue and is likely to result in the fall of organized civilization. Google it yourself if you don't believe me. From what I've gathered in this thread, Amazon seems to have a good deal of clauses relating to zombie outbreaks. Considering they have started purchasing other companies, I suppose they could now be classified as an umbrella corporation. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.